How you guys doing? My name is Jeff Saygood. I am the Global Category Manager for Fox MX. A lot of people don't know that Fox has been in the helmet game now for over 20 years. The very first helmet that we did was actually in 1998. Fox has been prioritizing helmet and helmet safety for over 20 years now. That very first helmet in 98 debuted on Jeff Emig at Redbud that summer. And that helmet, the pilot helmet, went on to inform the Pro Pilot and later on the very first version of the V3 helmet. The new V3 is a complete redesign from the ground up. The only shared technology that we really see in the new V3 compared to our old V3 is a brand new version of our MVRS system. That's our magnetic visor release system. We learned a lot from the very first iterations of the MVRS, which was a retrofit onto our old V3 mold. So, a lot of learnings over the last two years, both in amateur wear testing and obviously with all of our pro level riders in the helmet. A lot to be learned from how to secure that visor to the helmet most properly, how to make sure that it performs the way that we intend to perform during the event of a crash. So yeah, there's a complete redesign in the way that the visor is attached, but the same general philosophy and principle with the visor needing to release in the event of a crash to mitigate the risk of additional rotational forces on the head, neck, and spine. So in addition to a new look at the MVRS system for the new V3 helmet, there is a ton of technology and innovation that we've built into the new helmet, really prioritizing safety in this new helmet. We really look at the new V3 as a complete approach to helmet safety and performance. The number one thing that we want to look at when designing and developing and testing the new helmet is to make sure that it is the safest helmet that Fox has ever made. A ton of technology goes into ensuring that, starting out with a new proprietary, exclusive to Fox, rotational management system called Fluid Inside. It's a complete approach with a pod structure on the interior of the helmet. The pods are orientated on the inside in 7 different locations that are extremely important to the performance of the rotational management. The pod itself is really intended to decouple the head from the inside of the helmet to mitigate the risk of rotational impact. What we're finding in motorcycle crashes, and more specifically in dirt bike crashes, is that the amount of rotational force placed on the head and brain during a crash is what's causing a lot of the long-term injury in our sport. Helmet manufacturers have done a very, very good job with the EPS liners and shells and really passing the DOT and ECE standards to mitigate the risk of linear impact, skull fractures and things of that nature. And they're quite frankly becoming really good. What we're finding is that a lot of the damage done to the head is being caused through rotational impacts in the event of a crash. So what can we do as a brand in innovation and technology to make that better and better to mitigate the risk of concussion and other head traumas that are caused by rotational impact. So the Fluid Inside system is a rotational management that has both a linear component and a rotational component. It's a pod structure that's made up of a TPU back. It has a compressible foam on the interior, and then it has a fluid that floats around the interior as well. And the fluid here and the science behind it is to really mimic and replicate the cerebral spinal fluid on the inside of the brain. Over 7 million years of evolution of cerebral spinal fluid in our brain to protect it from bumps, does a really, really good job. And standard impact with your head in most real world scenarios is fine, but it's not going to work in the event of a motorcycle crash. So new technology with fluid pods. You'll see them on the interior of the helmet and underneath the comfort liner to mitigate the rotational impact in an event of a crash. Fluid Inside alone is not going to be the only safety feature inside of the helmet for the new V3. We've also have a Verizorb EPS system, a little cross section here of the helmet that can show that quite nicely. It's a dual density foam that's direct injected into our MCT composite shell. So the reason that's important are a couple reasons here. The first thing is the dual density acts as more of a cone head or cone shape type application, and you have 2 different densities of foam that are able to be orientated in the helmet with specific geometries that allow us to manage a much wider range of impact and disbursement of energy. So we can really beef the helmet up where we need to based on the research that we've done on the impact of certain locations, and we can really manage that energy going into the helmet with this EPS foam. Another thing that's important here with the direct inject is that it really minimizes the gap between the MCT composite shell and the foam. That really leads to a more secure fitment across all 4 shell sizes, and it also really decreases the weight of the helmet. In addition to that, we've got a multi-composite shell. The new shell is constructed here of carbon fiber, Kevlar, nylon, and fiberglass. The reason that we've gone to a MCT or a multi-composite shell is so we can make the helmet as hard as we need to where we need to make it hard, and we can make it as light as we need to where we need to make it light. Really important to be able to have different materials in the composite of the shell that are making it extremely hard and also taking weight into consideration. We've got an all-new chin bar and eye port cage, and this is a patent pending design here that we have incorporated into the helmet for a few reasons. The first reason, if you look at it and you look at the big bores going through the chin bar here and above the eye port, is to really prioritize airflow. This was something that we wanted to set as a high priority for the new cage system, to make sure that we had a really well ventilated helmet. In doing so, we wanted to also make sure that this structure was extremely rigid and can handle high levels of impact. Very lightweight, but extremely hard, and really disperses energy well into the back of the helmet in the event of a crash. In addition to this, we've got an injected molded mesh that will fill up each of the big bore channels here in the ventilation of the chin bar and into the vents above the eye port. So you can see it here along the side of the helmet, making sure that this is an extremely rigid mesh to allow for air to flow in, but obviously we don't want debris and roost through the mesh, and we want to make sure that this is still passing really high levels of safety standards to make sure that there's nothing that can pass through this helmet that's going to touch the head form. It's lighter than our previous V3 model. We want to make sure that we're prioritizing the weight of each helmet. It's extremely light, it's extremely safe, and those were some of the big priorities for us along with the new V3. The helmet now is live in Australia at $749 in a matte white colorway as well as a carbon black colorway. The limited edition Zebra has also come out for our spring 19 launch that debuted at the Las Vegas Supercross here a few weeks ago. The helmet is going to come out in 7 new colorways in our August delivery for MX20, so look forward to that. A handful of new graphics, finishes, really bringing this thing to life. They look fantastic and it's pretty exciting. Obviously the technology that we built into the V3 helmet, we really want to commercialize that opportunity in the rest of our franchises. So if you look at the design of the helmet, you can start seeing the language speak to the V1 that's currently in market, and it's going to lead into our all-new V2. The V2 helmet is going to be coming out here in August of 2019. And it's going to speak to the same family of helmets, topping with our Pinnacle helmet here with the V3 down to our V1. The new V2 coming out in August will use the fluid inside technology on the interior of the helmet. So you're going to have a lot of the great features from the new V3 that are going to cascade down to our more commercial price points, which is really exciting because we've got a ton of technology built into our Pinnacle helmet, and you're going to start seeing that trickle down into the rest of our helmet offering.